صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We're beginning the program with Qur'an, inshallah. Please welcome Afifa wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فبشرناه بغلام حليم فلما بلغ معه السعي قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى. قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. فلما أسلما وتله للجبين وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم قد صدقت الرؤيا إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين. إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين وفديناه بذبح عظيم وتركنا عليه في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين. وبشرناه بإسحاق نبيا من الصالحين وباركنا عليه وعلى إسحاق ومن ذريتهما محسن وظالم لنفسه مبين. ولقد مننا على موسى وهارون ونجيناهما وقومهما من الكرب العظيم ونصرناهم فكانوا هم الغالبين. وآتيناهما الكتاب المستبين وهديناهما الصراط المستقيم وتركنا عليهما في الآخرين سلام على موسى وهارون إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنهما من عبادنا المؤمنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you very much. We will now welcome Professor Iqbal Asaria. Please welcome him with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Iqbal uncle needs no introduction in this community. He is a visiting professor at the London Institute of Banking and Finance, the Bangor University CBMBA Programme, and a member of the visiting faculties of Bangor Business School and City Business School. He's an expert in Islamic finance and was a member of the working group established by the Governor of the Bank of England to look at the issues relating to the introduction of Islamic finance in the UK. This group, set up by the Lord Eddie George in 2002, was instrumental in charting the pathway for legislative and other changes needed to create a level playing field for Islamic financial instruments in the UK market. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الخاتم الجبارين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمخلوقين سيدنا ونبينا أبو القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We meet at the end of the day of Ashura, which, as we have heard through this day, is a sad day, sometimes beyond comprehension. Now, this is the point which we want to try to make and draw some conclusions from there. The first thing is that just put together the narratives which we have heard over the years and see that on the day of Ashura, obviously, there was a massacre of the Imam and his companions, including the young Ali Asgar, and the enemy, it seems, showed no mercy. After that, after the massacre, bodies were trampled, bodies were looted and left to rot on the desert sand. The family of Imam Hussain, the women and children and the ill Imam Zainul Abidin, were maltreated, tents were burned, they were manhandled, chained, and then taken towards Damascus, which was the headquarters of Yazid. If you just imagine, don't forget about the connection to the Prophet or anything, just imagine a group of women and children being their jewelries pinched off from their bodies, their clothes torn off, they are chained and taken in file. You know how prisoners are taken. But that's not all. In front of them, on spears, they had the heads of the Imam and his companions. So it is a scene of incomparable brutality. Then when you go further in the narratives, you get even more surprised, because when they are in Damascus, people are watching them from their balconies and things and saying, who are these mischief makers? Why are they brought like this? Nobody has any idea of whether this is wrong or whether they should be treated like that or not. And then they were taken to prison and imprisoned with no access to anybody. So it seems to me it's very important to understand that in many societies you create a hatred for people, and when that hatred becomes too much, then the people participating in that hatred forget humanity. Now this hatred for the Ahlul Bayt was obviously perpetrated by the Banu Umayyah, especially Muawiyah. As some of you may know and have heard from me, in the time of Muawiyah, it was mandatory to curse Imam Ali alayhi salam from the mimbar. And those who did not were dealt with severely. One case we know very clearly is that of the companion of the Prophet, Hujr bin Adi. Hujr refused to swear on Imam Ali. In fact, he wanted to praise Imam Ali. So he was called before Muawiyah's court and executed for this, for praising Imam Ali and not cursing him. Now, if you see that this is the time when Islam is also expanding. So if you are a new Muslim and you are taught that cursing Imam Ali from the mimbar is good, obviously your view of the Ahlul Bayt is quite different from what would be in Medina or Makkah or so on. And it's this kind of thing which feeds on, which makes people accept this kind of brutality. And if you think that that was in the past, I think we are mistaken. I think I have mentioned that when ISIS tried to take over Syria, Damascus especially, one of the graves, first graves they desecrated was Hujr bin Adi, even today. So you can see that the hatred is continuing and being perpetuated. Hujr bin Adi had no other kind of characteristic which could be condemned, except that he did not swear on Imam Ali. So this is the main problem. And with that kind of audience, which is favorably disposed to their treatment like this, it would be impossible to put your case. Okay, we know that Zainab alayhi salam tried in the court of Yazid to make some points, but it went on deaf ears. The points were well made, we read them as nice, but it went on deaf ears. I was watching yesterday, I think, the children's program here, and they were role-playing Yazid's court and Imam Hussein's supporter. And you could see that if there was power on one side, the other side had really very little to offer in that situation. So now you are in this prison situation, imprisoned, humiliated, with no sympathy in the public around you. Maybe if some people in Makkah or Medina heard about it, they might have some sympathies, but otherwise it was very, very difficult for them to do anything. So, what did they do? This is the most interesting thing. They started to hold majalis for the shuhada in the prison. Now, with all this force and power which Yazid had, he could not stop that. Because we are only saying, I'm really mourning for my brother or my cousin or my nephew or whatever. And the few people whom they could attract, they encourage them to go and do the same thing in their own circles. These circles expanded and expanded, and obviously taking advantage of changing situations in different parts of the Muslim countries. It became an established tradition, and it took quite a large number of years, 100, 200 years, before this narrative became much more balanced. The narrative of the Umayyads was that Imam Hussein was creating fitna, and therefore he had to be dealt with. Otherwise, Islam could be in danger. This was the narrative from that side. Also, we must remember that these Umayyads, when they faced the challenge from the Abbasids shortly after Karbala, shortly I mean 50 years, they started to go towards Africa. And they went across North Africa and into Spain. So that whole group which went there also spread a lot of false rumors about the characteristics of the Ahlul Bayt. There is quite well documented stories which they said that all this talk about Sukaina bint al-Hussein is wrong. She was actually a dancer, and she used to dance in public. And so that narrative spreads. And then that says something about her parents, and so on. See how this narrative slowly connects to each other. And there are books like Kitab al-Aghani by Abul Faraj Isfahani in Egypt, which make this point. In fact, it was only when the Fatimids came later, they cleaned that narrative. So one of my friends, who is an Algerian Berber, see, there is a difference between Arabs and Berbers. Berbers are mostly in the south. He said to me, you know, before the Fatimids, nobody used to keep the name Fatima for their daughters. After the Fatimids, every family's eldest daughter will be called Fatima. So you see how the narrative changes and is being polished. The Fatimids did a sterling job of spreading this. Of course, then establishing their Khilafat in Cairo, which actually the name is Qahira, victory, city of victory, established Al-Azhar and learning and so on. So the Umayyad narrative became quite prominent and quite difficult to take out of people's minds. I mean, they say, but you know, they were not good people and so on. And so how do you deal with this? So this tradition of majalis has been very critical in slowly cleaning that narrative and bringing the true sense of what happened in Karbala and why. And this was obviously the revenge of the Banu Umayyah over the Banu Hashim, because they thought that they had leadership. And why did Banu Hashim take the leadership? Muawiyah, especially Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah. There are complications in this story which really is worth investigating in detail. Because if we study the whole trail of the Muslims, Umayyad Muslims, this way and the other way, and see how this false narrative was spread, we get an idea of how societies work. If we now bring this back into our present times, when we look at the news on Gaza, for example, we can just not comprehend how this kind of brutality can be perpetuated. How those people are not, even those who are doing it, are not feeling anything. Because just like Muawiyah, they have prepared the ground over the years, brainwashed their people that these people are not actually people. They're less than human. So whatever you do to them is okay for our own sake. And you can see this happening now. The amount of support in Israel for this kind of, from the Zionist parts of Israel, for this kind of genocide really is unbelievable. And then the same happens from governments outside who support that. They have nothing. I haven't heard anything over the last month about this genocide from our government, as if it's not happening. Whereas every day, Brother Ahmad is sending a mail to me that 300, 200, 150 Palestinians have been killed. And I said, but I haven't seen this in the newspapers. I haven't seen, except if you go to Al Jazeera, but then they have banned Al Jazeera from reporting in Palestine as well. So I think the parallel is there, that the case of the Ahlul Bayt in Sham and the Umayyad behavior is very similar to the case of the Palestinians here, the behavior of the Zionists. So how would they spread their narrative? Obviously, they themselves have not got much contact with the outside world. So I think it becomes obligatory on us to spread their narrative over and over a long period. It's not going to be a short thing, but just to remind over and over and over that this is injustice and we cannot support it. And we will protest, we will march, we will do whatever is necessary to make sure that this narrative continues and continues to inspire people to do something. On top of that, obviously, there are things like the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which may not be that effective initially, but it still gives us the moral courage that we are doing something, remembering our fellow Muslims in Palestine. And it's not only Palestine. If you go back and you look at what happened in Yugoslavia, when obviously Bosnia-Herzegovina was born, the amount of killing, if you go to Srebrenica, you see 9,000 graves of young men who were killed just because they were Muslims. If you go to Sarajevo, you hear of hundreds of women being abused because they were Muslims. And I asked the Mufti of Bosnia, I said, but you don't look Muslims, you look very European, your behavior, your dressing, everything. He said, it just needed our name to have one Muslim character anywhere, and we were classed as enemies. So I think the lesson from Karbala, from the martyrs, from the Ahlul Bayt who were left behind, is that this is not going to be a simple battle. It is a battle to change hearts and minds of people who are hardened. I mean, just last week I was hearing on the radio, there was a new program, and if you had time you should look at it. The famine in Bengal. 3 million people were killed because our government wanted to monopolize the grain production and not put it locally. The word famine was censored, couldn't put it in the newspapers, and there was no reporting on the number of people dying and so on. And this woman has done a brilliant job in bringing, Kavita Puri, I think is her name, bringing together even some of the survivors to see how this could happen. Obviously, there was not the time for social media and so on, but this is how this could happen when everybody knew, all the officers and things knew what is happening. Obviously, there is also the Holocaust of the Jews in Germany, which should not be ignored by us. It wasn't something which we agree with. We are not. The important thing about the Holocaust, which people forget today, is that Muslims are not responsible at all for the Holocaust. It's Christians. Although it's now being talked about as if we somehow are part of the Holocaust. We're not responsible at all. Or you look at the Inquisition. We had this speaker just before Muharram talking about Muslims and Jews being thrown out of Andalusia. Even there, the Jews who were thrown out were welcomed in North Africa. And if you go to North African cities, you find that in most of the cities, there are what are called Jewish quarters. They've given them a space where they say, if you want to practice the Sabbath or whatever, you do it there in peace. So there are historical examples, but this main thing is dehumanization of people. Today, this man, Mr. Vance, who has been nominated as vice running mate of Trump. He said, I am worried about the first Muslim nuclear state. And they said to him, is it Iran or something? He said, no, it's Britain. Because Muslims are taking over Britain, and then Britain is a nuclear state, and I'm worried about that. Now, man is going to be the Vice President of the United States. Or when Trump was coming here, during his presidency, he refused to accept Sadiq Khan being invited to the palace because he said he's Muslim. And he made several other derogatory remarks about Muslims. So in this way, people start to feel that perhaps Muslims are something bad. And then they accept unfair treatment being given to Muslims. So it's not only that we sympathize with the Palestinians, it can come onto us as well. we have to be very, very aware that any attempt to make us all become less than human is dangerous. And it needs to be combated in as many ways as possible over many years. For Palestine, the parallel with Karbala is very clear. We have a people, Zionists, who have no sympathy on them as even human beings. Look at, it's unbelievable. You get 2 million people being shuffled from one place to another, safe zone, and then they bomb the safe zone and this. And every time women, children, young men are being just massacred and left like that. And nobody's saying anything. And nobody feels that it is wrong. This is the point. If nobody feels that it is wrong, people who matter, we are reaching a shameful state of affairs. It's only this poor lady in South Africa, Nalini Pandor, who is a Muslim, by the way. She took up the battle and has taken it to the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court and so on. And what do? Just before the election, our government was thinking of making a challenge to the International Criminal Court that you are not qualified to take this case. Instead of saying that let's do something, at least to stop it. Of course, arms sales and all kinds of things are there. But it will come to demonization of Muslims across the world. And we have to face it. We have to be brave to face it. This is a long struggle. But inshallah, we will be able to overcome. So this tradition of majalis, which started there, spread the message, and then it evolved into the different cultural settings. In some, it became Matam with Zanjir and things. In Iran, it became role plays and so on. In other places, all kinds of things. So those are cultural manifestations of the same thing. I don't think we have yet found a particular manifestation which suits us in this country. And that is our challenge, and that is my appeal to our young people, to start thinking how we can put it forward, especially if we can attract non-Muslims to the justice of the cause. You will be surprised of what things attract people. Musaddiq mentioned in the introduction that I was part of the committee, the governor of the Bank of England. And I said to the governor, I said, Lord Eddie George, why do you waste your time on this? What is it to you? And this is recorded. He said, you know something? When I was a junior official in the bank, I had a neighbor who were Muslims. I had neighbors who were Muslims. And one day we invited them for dinner, and they came. And I saw that they said they looked happy and sad. So I asked them, what is this problem? They said, we are very happy that we got possession of our house today. But we are very sad we couldn't do it according to the Sharia. We had to take a conventional interest-bearing mortgage. And he said that look of sadness on their face had such an impact on me that I resolved that if I become anything in the bank, I will help them to do what they need to do. Now, you can see, he's not a Muslim, doesn't have to do anything, but he goes all the way to the extent that he told us, you come to my office once a month, I'll give you half a day. Governor of the Bank of England giving us half a day. So he was a jolly man. He said, the only downside you have is that I'm a chain smoker and I'm not going to stop that. So you have to suffer that. But he would sit there and say, what is your problem? I said, we have gone to the Inland Revenue and they said it will take 8 months to give you an appointment and this and that. He picks up the phone. He said, I'm going to send these people tomorrow. So they said, no. He said, okay, day after tomorrow. So he resolved those issues and helped us to steer the legislation through. Now that's just because of the sadness of the look on his neighbor, Muslim neighbor's face. And there may be so many other cases where our behavior affects our fellow citizens. And this is the case of the Palestinians is a special case where we should find ways of affecting them and becoming true to the legacy of the martyrs of Karbala and the Ahlul Bayt. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You want questions? No? It's up to you. Okay.
Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. غريب حسين شهيد حسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد شهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد شهيد الحسين. Salams on the head of my Mawla Hussein. Salams on the lips of the blessed Hussein. For days in the desert your body remained, with thousands of arrows your shroud they became. And on Arba'in where the million the grief and the mourning for you, Ya Hussein, Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed, al-Shaheed, Hussein. The screams of the children thirsty for water, the duty was sent to Abbas, our Savior. The Lion of God could be seen riding faster to reach Al-Furat and to please his Sakina. But how does he fall from the horse with no hands? The flag of Islam laying bare on the sand. Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed al-Hussein. A lady was seen peering out from the tents, a cry from the heavens that Zahra presents. Oh shimmer, why on his chest the sword stained in blood was Hussein's final test. Hussein, to your mother, it's time to ascend. Your trials in Karbala have come to an end. Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein, Shaheed al-Hussein. The fire, the burning, the tents up in flames. O Zainab, protect Imam Ali bin Hussein. The soldiers of Yazid want to beat us with chains. The women and children are crying in vain. Oh Baba Ali, please come back and defend us. Your children are waiting for you to return. Hussein al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed al-Hussein. Sakina would cry every night for her father, and Zainab would cradle Hussein's little daughter. But when they presented his head on a platter, Sakina could not bear to live any longer, and no one could comfort or soothe young Sakina. She died in the prison, her grieving had killed her. Hussein al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed al-Shaheed al-Hussein, Hussein al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussein. حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. So we'll stand for Matam, please. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? How did you cope with this great torment, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the battlefield, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see when the alarm fell, when the water spilled? What did you see when the alarm fell, when the water spilled? Where are those hands of Uncle Abbas, his mission fulfilled? What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? Did you see the tiny cradle shake, hearing Halmin? Did you see the tiny cradle shake, hearing Halmin? Where is your brother Asghar, his life yet to begin? What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? Did you see On and Muhammad fight, so brave and bold? Did you see On and Muhammad fight, so brave and bold? For Allah they sacrificed their lives, the truth to uphold. What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see on the back, Imam-e Sajjad? What did Qasim call out as he fell down to the floor? What did Qasim call out as he fell down to the floor? If only Shabbar could see his young son martyred in war. What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? What did you see, Imam-e Sajjad? Did you see on SHAM-e GHARIBA 10 satellite? Did you see on SHAM-e GHARIBA 10 satellite? Did you see your Auntie Zainab stand on guard that night. What did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you hear in Yazid's palace when Zainab spoke? What did you hear in Yazid's palace when Zainab spoke? Did he not know that your pure family were under the cloak? What did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what happened to the protectors of the veil of Zainab? What happened to the protectors of the veil of Zainab? She did endure such a tragedy, her strength sabr. What did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you see? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you see in the court of Sham? Heads on display. What did you see in the court of Sham? Heads on display. The story of Ashura is in our minds each day. What did you see on the battlefield? Imam-e-Sajjad, what did you see on the battlefield? Imam-e-Sajjad, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Brothers and sisters, as you'll be aware, the cost of running this year's Muharram program is £10,000. Please be generous in your donation to help us cover the cost this Muharram. We're still a bit short of that target. You can donate at the pay terminals in the ladies and gents entrance halls or online at sikkim.org.uk. At either of the cash donation boxes in the ladies and gents entrance halls as well, or by speaking to any of the EC members. We are excited to invite all children and teenagers aged 7 to 18 to participate in our first ever Muharram Young Creators Contest. This special competition commemorates the sadness of Muharram and the tragedy of Karbala through the creative expressions of our youth, and youth are invited to create artistic expressions of the theme Muharram, Reflections of Courage and Sacrifice. There are three main categories: poetry, art, and a special sustainability category sponsored by LFT. The poetry and art categories each have 3 age groups. The winning prize in each category of each of the 7 categories is £150, and then the runners-up prize is £50, kindly sponsored by by LFT. See the website sikkim.org.uk creators for more details about the /creators for more details about the categories and submission details. Submission open on Thursday, 18th July, and close on Sunday, 28th July. Registration for madrasas also open now. You can register by visiting sikkim.org.uk/madrasa 2425. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله وسلم.